It's time now for the award-winning #1 local talk show in Northeast Pennsylvania, The Sam Lesante Show. Now here's your host, Sam Lesante.
Thanks for joining us again, folks. I'm Sam Lesante, and you know the race for judgeship in Luzerne County continues, and we have been bringing you a series of people who are running for judge, so you can have a better understanding of who that person is. My guest today, no stranger, of course, to Luzerne County. She was our district attorney for many years. Stefanie Salavantis is here, and she's looking to become your next common plea judge in Luzerne County. Stefanie, nice to see you.
It's very nice to see you.
Few things. I have a word of congratulations and a word of condolence. Okay, passing of your dad was very hard to take. And you certainly have the Lesante family condolences.
Thank you.
Then, of course, God is good because He gave you a beautiful little daughter.
Yes.
Okay, and she's thrown. So, balancing acts, I guess, in life is interesting. But so I wish you the best.
Thank you so much. Yes, and my father passed because of COVID, and it was a very difficult time. But the outpouring of support that people have shown me it means the world to me.
It certainly does, you know, when you're grieving and you know you have that situation. And now you had to step down as district attorney. That was an interesting challenge.
Yes.
And I think you did the right thing, Stefanie.
Thank you. Thank you. I looked at the situation and I wanted to do what was best for our community, for our law enforcement, and make sure that there weren't any issues from the transition between my administration to the new administration. So I really tried to work hard to make sure that transition was positive and that there were no hiccups. Unfortunately, there were some at the end, but we were able to resolve that work together and move forward in a positive way.
And you like to see that.
Yes.
You like to see that because of all the terrible things in politics in the last number of years. It's just like people are like so fed up with it.
Okay. I agree.
And so this is a good opportunity for people to see who will be our next judge.
Yes.
Okay. But before we talk about that, let's go back in history a little bit. Before you became DA, what did you do?
Well, before I was DA, I practiced. I was in insurance defense litigation, and I handled children and youth termination cases. So I was a litigator before I became DA. I worked closely with other firms and some large insurance companies. And most people don't know that about me. They see me and they see the Luzerne County District Attorney. But I think that's important for people to understand. I have experience in many different areas besides the criminal area of law. So I was able to handle all different types of cases in insurance defense and handled hearings, depositions, everything that you would think of when it came to the civil side of it. I also handled family affairs as well, custody, divorce. I handled cases along those lines as well. So I do have a very wide range. I have a wide range of experience as prior to becoming district attorney.
It always fascinates me. You were doing well private practice. Then why did you decide to run for district attorney? What did you see that interested you in the DA's office?
Well, if people may remember, I was a young lawyer that came back to Luzerne County because my family was here, and so I really wanted to work closely in Luzerne County, work closely with the legal profession and make positive change. I wanted to bring about positive change to Luzerne County. And when I approached some of my friends who were in the legal profession and saw what was going on in Luzerne County, as a 29-year-old, I wanted to make a difference. And I wanted to step up and I wanted to say, as a young woman in the legal profession, I can bring positive change. And that's what I decided to do when I ran for district attorney. It was an amazing experience being district attorney, meeting so many different people throughout all different areas. Luzerne County is an enormous county. People don't realize that. And it was a wonderful experience to have met so many different people throughout the county.
As a young lawyer at that time, and I remember when you ran for office, it was interesting, Did you see, you said, did you see something, you mentioned it, but something that you wanted to achieve, the goals that you wanted to achieve as DA? Of course, history proves that what you've done, so your record's there, okay? Right. But it's always fascinated, I think I'm going to become a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, a businessman, a TV guy, etc. Because you have reasons for that. So right. Looking at a young lawyer running for DA, district attorney in a big county, running against a lot of political people, yes. Okay, and living with a lot of bull, and all yes. that stuff. Did it discourage you anyway?
Actually, it encouraged me more. Seeing the powerhouses, like you're saying, the powerhouses, the powerful people that remained in politics, and it was this constant cycle in Luzerne County. And coming home and seeing this compared to other areas that I've been, I really, again, I wanted to make a difference. That's why I got involved. I wanted to say that there are people in the community that do want to run for office, that do want to bring positive change, that want to bring positive influences to our communities. And so that encouraged me more. When I decided to run and I was in the community talking to these people, people were saying, we need fresh faces. We need young blood coming out because we want to keep people in our community. You saw so many young people leaving our area because they felt like they didn't have opportunities here. And I wanted to be a face for those people to say, there are opportunities. You work hard, you could achieve this. And I go around, still to this day, I go around and speak to a lot of younger people in our community. And I say to them, when people tell you you can't accomplish this, that's what I was told every day when I was running for DA the first time. This is impossible, you can't do this. And it made me work harder and see where I'm at today. And that's the message I try to pass on to everybody.
What are some of the things that, I know the story well. When I started this TV, it was that you'll never make it, you'll never do this, you'll never do that, etc.
Yes.
And that only gave me more encouragement, my wife and I and the family, to do it. So I understand, I could relate to that 100%. When you were DA, what are some of the things that you may regret, that you wanted to do that you couldn't do, or maybe you don't regret anything?
I don't really have any regrets. I really don't. Every day I went into that courthouse, every day I went into that office, I worked hard to achieve everything I promised Luzerne County residents. Every time I was out there talking to people and the promises that I was making, I fought hard to bring those promises to the table and make sure that I accomplished them for Luzerne County residents. There aren't really any regrets that I have. I worked hard to stand up for victims. I worked hard to hold people accountable for their actions, their criminal actions. And I was tough on those who preyed upon our victims, who preyed upon our communities and brought havoc into our neighborhoods, for instance, with drugs. But I was also very fair when it came to giving people second chances, working hard to bring positive diversionary programs to the county, or building upon the diversionary programs that our county has implemented. So I really focused on bringing positive change to our county, and there aren't really any areas that I would say that I have any regrets.
As you're explaining this to me, I'm thinking in my mind, basically you're a judge every day because you have to make decisions. Do I proceed with this case? Yes. Do I not proceed with this case? Do I hear all sides before we go ahead and
Absolutely.
And so being a district attorney, I'm just thinking, you have to make those decisions.
Every single day as district attorney, those were the tough decisions I had to make. I was responsible for overseeing annually approximately 5,000 cases. So I made the evidentiary decisions with my attorneys, the charging decisions, whether or not we should proceed with this case, working with law enforcement on the investigations and whether or not we had enough to move forward in charging, making plea deals. I was there making those decisions every single day in that courthouse. And that's what distinguishes me from the other candidates. And on top of that, I was there working with the bench, all of the judges, making sure that what we were doing when it came to the trial terms, we were doing it efficiently, and we were treating everybody fairly, no matter what party. Everybody in the system was treated fairly, and that was something that I always emphasized to my office, and working with legislators. One area that I am very proud of for our office and for different legislators that stepped up to help us was Kevin's Law. I think that would be the last, I believe it will be the last mandatory minimum that was ever passed, and that was creating or fixing the loophole in someone hitting an individual, killing them or seriously injuring them and leaving the scene. There was a major loophole in that they should be seeing a mandatory minimum of 3 years, but they weren't. So I worked with legislators to fix that loophole, to fix that law, and I'm so proud of Kevin's Law and the family for standing up for their son that they lost. So there were so many things I did daily as district attorney that making those tough decisions.
We're all influenced by different things that happen in our life. In this business, with our news division, sometimes some of your friends get in trouble, and unfortunately, you're in the news, and you have to report certain things that you really don't like to report.
Right.
Okay, and believe me, there are some people today don't talk to me or my family because we had them on the news. Okay,
Oh, I understand that.
Some advertisers don't advertise with us because
Right.
we advertise something. I mean, we said, well, all the other, you have to present news. So what I'm getting at, how much influence did the press have? Because here you are, DA, murder, robbery, high profile case, press comes in, headlines, et cetera, and then people are saying, well, unfortunately, sometimes you're guilty before you're innocent, okay, which is sad, okay?
Yes.
That's not the way the system works. So as a DA, because it's going to be the same if you become judge, how much of an influence did that have on your decisions when you sat around with your attorneys?
No outside influence ever affected how I handled cases in my office, and that would be the same as a sitting judge if I were elected and honored to be elected as a sitting judge. I made sure that I looked at all the evidence, I looked at the investigation, and I made decisions based on the law, not based on any influence at all that was being thrown my way at any point in time on cases. Not to mention, there's not just the news having some type of influence, but there are outside influences, people that try to influence you. And I have the record to show that no matter who you are, if you committed a crime in Luzerne County, you were held accountable. And that's how it should be. And that was me as district attorney being fair to everyone, treating everyone equally. I don't care if you're the mayor, if you're a representative, if you're just some business owner or a lay person. I treated everyone exactly the same. And I hope that Luzerne County residents saw that in me as district attorney, and that they would always be treated fairly when they appeared in front of me.
Once you made your decisions and you have your press conferences, did you feel that the press was fair with you?
I believe that the press was fair. I believe that the press, media has a job to do themselves. They have to ask those tough questions. And I hope that they felt that I was being transparent at all times. When I came into office as district attorney, I made sure to tell everybody that whatever I can provide that won't harm the investigation, I will. I was always that person on TV saying the public doesn't have to be concerned for their safety. Or if they were, that I immediately would be out there saying, I want you to be aware that this person's on the loose. So I made sure that I was providing all information. And I think that we had a respect for each other, the media and my office, myself included, that we respected each other. We knew the limits that we could push, and we worked well together.
So, when you look at your tenure as a DA and look at all of the things you did, as you said, it just seems like it went like
It
like that. It's
It feels like it was yesterday that I took office.
What'd you learn from, in the DA's office? We all learn something through scientific experience, but what was, I'm sure you learned a lot, but what pops up? What'd you learn from being a DA?
That the office is, first of all, people need to realize that our office is, again, our county is very large. So our office really is understaffed, and working closely with law enforcement in the community who are understaffed, there could be a lot of pressures on making sure that cases are moving smoothly through the system. So I learned a lot when I initially took office, that there had to be more of an efficient way to run things in the office, and that was one of my first priorities is arranging the office in a more efficient manner. I learned a lot about victims and what they went through the system, and that victims are thrown into the system. They're not in the system because of their choosing. They're thrown into the system. A lot of people don't know how the system works, which is good because they're not involved in the criminal justice system. We don't want people involved in it. But working closely with victims and making sure that they know that we are here for them, and that we want to make it as easy for them going through the system as possible. So those are a couple things that I learned when I took office. But there's so much that changes every day. It changes with how you work with legislators as a district attorney to bring positive change to the community, bringing in different programs and how difficult it could be, the funding of programs to implement, say for instance, the drug task force or the gun violence reduction task force in our community to keep people safe, means working on grants and working with legislators to find those grant opportunities. So there was a lot that I've learned through my time as district attorney.
Before we go to break, any successful company or person has to surround themselves with people that they trust.
Yes.
And people who are tuned into what they have. From what I've seen in the last 10 years, you've always been able to surround yourself with good people. All right? And I think that's critical, you know.
Yes.
And as a judge, you know, if you become judge, you're going to have to depend on the people. Okay.
Absolutely.
What were some of the things that you had that you wanted your people to do or know before you put them in any position?
Well, I really wanted to know who they were, what they stood for. So if you look at the administration that I had, they were career prosecutors where their passion lied. Their passion lied in the district attorney's office, working with victims, working with the community. And that's what I really looked for. I wanted to make sure that the people that surrounded me and were working every day in Luzerne County to keep our public safe, that is what they wanted to do. And that's what they would focus on. And they would look for different ways in which we could implement positive change. And if you notice, that's something that I say all the time, positive change for Luzerne County. And so those were those were factors in which I took into consideration when choosing the people that I surrounded myself with.
Folks, I'm talking to Stefanie Salavantis, former DA in Luzerne County. She wants to be your judge. Now, here's the question. Doing a great job as district attorney, you know, now she wants to be a judge. What made her make that decision to go into judicial area and leave a position she was doing so well with? We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Sam Lesante Show, folks. Remember, 24/7, ssptv.com. On the Wilkes-Barre system, Channel 92, we're on every Saturday and Sunday evening, 7 to 11 p.m. That's Channel 92. And, of course, 24/7, SSPTV 13 in our HD channel here, and Comcast 190 in Pottsville. I want to thank all of you for the nice comments we made, particularly all you people that I'm getting responses from in the Wilkes-Barre Mountaintop and Kingston area with our shows. You run across them and they say, oh, geez, I didn't know Sammy had this, and we have all the other local shows. So thank you so much. My guest today, Stefanie Salavantis. no stranger at all to Luzerne County, no stranger to the state of Pennsylvania. Stefanie was our district attorney, and as we talked about, Stefanie, so here you are. You're doing such a great job as district attorney. You're right in there, you know all the nooks and crannies, you know who to talk to, you know, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Stefanie Salavantis says, I think I'd like to be judge. Now the question is, why?
Well, as you stated, everybody knows me as the district attorney of Luzerne County, and I have never wavered in my pursuit of justice. Every day I've walked into the courthouse, I stood up for victims' rights. I worked hard to hold people accountable for the crimes that they commit in our community. So our residents slept well at night knowing that they were safe and that there were people out there fighting hard to keep them safe. When I found out that a judicial seat would be opening up, I thought long and hard, talked to my family, and made the determination that I wanted to continue serving the public. I have a record that you can look at, that I always fought to be fair to everyone who may have committed a crime in Luzerne County, fair to those who may be involved in the criminal justice system. And I really decided that I wanted to be that judge on the bench that treated everybody fairly, that the public knew that I would be there for them to look at these cases and make good decisions and make sure that I was always respectful and that I was someone that they could lean on and know that no matter when they appeared in front of me, that I would be there to determine fairly what outcome the case should take place. And I sit here today asking for people to look at my record and make the decision on whether or not they want to vote for me. And I'm sitting here asking for your vote based on what you've seen from me over the past 9+ years as district attorney. I made those hard decisions every day. I have been making those hard decisions as district attorney, and I will continue making those positive but difficult decisions as judge if you elect me. And I promise, and I've always kept my promises, that I will be a fair, trustworthy, and a judge on the bench. And so please, if anything, come out and vote on May 18th, and I ask for your support on that day.
It's interesting you're saying we're running these shows, and I'm in Pottsville last week, and a lady came out from the chamber building. She was doing something. She said, "Excuse me, Mr. Lesante." She said, "You know, I watch your show, and I watch it with judges. I really had no interest in politics, etc. And so, you know, now that I have all the judges, people running for judges. Long story short, she said, you know, but I listened to one of the judges, a person was a judge, and he said, my cousin was going in front of a judge, and what he wanted to know is what kind of judge was that person.
Right.
And when he heard the word that who he's going in front of is a fair judge,
right.
She said, then I really realized how important that show that you had with that person who's running for judge, because they get to know you, Stefanie.
Right.
Okay. With all due respect to any kind of publicity, but when you see a sign, that's a good thing. But the sign only tells you who the person is.
Absolutely.
You know, I feel sorry for lawyers that have 22 pages of yellow pages and pictures and
yes.
slogans. Well, what do you know about them?
Right.
Okay, and I'm not knocking. The fact is that let people know who you are.
Right.
All right.
And I believe that people know who I am
Yeah.
over my time as district attorney, because I haven't been a stranger. I've been in the community. I've been speaking to all of these community organizations, and I want them to know who I am and what I stand for. And I hope they know that I will be that same person with the passion for truth, justice, fairness. I will bring that to the bench as I brought it to the district attorney's office.
Well, you were fair when you were DA. You were honest when you were DA. You treated people with respect when you were DA. So I don't think you're going to change.
Absolutely not.
I don't think you're going to change. So as I wish anyone, all the people, and I've interviewed them all, and they're very nice.
Yes.
I wish you all the best. And once again, congratulations on your baby, and condolences on your dad.
Thank you very much.
Remember, folks, May 18th, know the candidates, know who they are, and give them consideration. We'll see you next time.